Chapter 1. A Journey of Faith Begins.
He will have no fear of bad news. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. In the end he will look in triumph on his foes. Psalm 112, 7 and 8.
The phone call shattered the silence of that late November evening. Though it was the Monday of Thanksgiving week in 1997, I felt anything but festive. I lumbered across the kitchen floor in fierce competition with the answering machine. Snagging the handset moments before the "We're not home right now" message, I grinned at my minor victory in the never-ending battle of man versus machine. The woman's voice on the other end was firm and frustrated. "Mr. Hess, where have you been?" she questioned, her irritation enunciating every word. "We have been trying to reach you all afternoon. Where have you been?" she repeated indignantly. I apologized for not checking our answering machine and imagined a sly grin coming from the digital device in the next room. Score, man 1, machine 1. "We have the results of your blood test," she continued. "It is urgent that you come to our office as soon as possible." The seriousness of her tone began to unsettle me. "I'll be right there," I responded abruptly. Grabbing my keys while trying to force my foot into a shoe, I began to wonder what the urgent part was. The tests were taken just a few hours ago. Couldn't this wait until morning? It was Monday, our day to tie up loose ends before another week was off and running ahead of us. Grocery shopping, house cleaning, banking, and other duties as assigned made up our typical Mondays together, but this Monday was anything but typical. My wife Sherry was running a few errands, trying to make up for the time we lost sitting in hospital waiting rooms throughout the day. I quickly told our 16-year-old daughter Bethany that she was in charge of her younger brothers, Ben, age 12, and Brandon, age 9, a role she enjoyed maybe a little too much. I overheard her barking a few orders to the boys as I staggered into the garage. While my mind was swimming with thoughts, my body was void of energy. Gingerly, I backed the car onto the driveway. Within moments, I was on the road, heading into one of the fiercest storms of my life. For several months leading up to this Monday, I had been battling fatigue and what appeared to be flu symptoms. Yet another strange thing was happening to me. One day, after sitting in a wooden chair with lattice designs, I noticed those same patterns etched in bruises on my back. Black and blue patches were also appearing on my arms and legs. A strange brownish hue discolored the whites of my eyes. It seemed as if each day greeted me with a new disfigurement. I was also experiencing constant bleeding around my teeth and gums. I discovered it one Saturday on my way to the grocery store. Looking into the car's rearview mirror, I was shocked to see my bright red smile. After quickly wiping my teeth, I dashed into the store to make a few fast purchases before returning home. As I smiled at the cashier on my way out, her startled look halted me. "Your teeth are bleeding," she said, pointing at my mouth. Wanting to calm her fears and mine, I dryly joked that I had been sampling beef roasts in the meat department. Why I said that and where it came from I do not know. The poor clerk only looked more puzzled. And I was too. What was happening to my body? I was tired, very tired. Besides the appearances of strange bruises, a hazy cloud covered my mind. I felt dull and detached from people and the events happening around me. Like a prisoner in my own body, I was watching life go by from a distant observation room, and I could not escape. I blamed my bleeding gums on irregular flossing habits, imagining my dentist's frown as he detailed the merits of dragging a string through my molars. The rest of the symptoms were beginning to scare me. I knew something was wrong with me, something serious. The morning after the ghastly grocery visit was the Sunday before Thanksgiving. As pastor of a local church near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I loved gathering each week with our dear friends. Encouraging them with the words of the Lord was one of my greatest joys. In spite of my physical weaknesses, I gradually awoke that Sunday morning, eager to share my heart with those we love. We had moved to the Harrisburg area in 1989 just to be part of this church. As young Messiah College students in the early 1970s, Sherry and I were deeply affected by a nearby church called Bethany Tabernacle. Despite our rather subdued religious upbringing, we connected with these people who were warm, friendly, and lively. Overcoming our culture shock, we fell right in with this group of crazy, committed followers of Jesus, and the connection lasted. I became the third pastor of this great church. The two previous leaders, Russell Tidy and Larry Titus, are wonderful, godly men. They laid a strong foundation from which we are still reaping the results of their labors of love. I learned so many things from Pastor Russell during my college years. I discovered that Jesus Christ was a friend whom I could know and talk to. I came to follow Jesus as the ultimate leader of my life and to experience deeper dimensions of his love for me. I also saw Jesus' power at work, healing and restoring people, just like he did when he walked the earth. Russell taught me to believe that Jesus could do the same thing in me. As newlyweds, Sherry and I had agreed to pastor two rural churches. Sherry worked at a local bookstore while I was a full-time seminary student. The combination of long hours and little experience eventually took its toll on us and on the churches. After a painful church split, they looked for another pastor. I searched for another career. When I met Larry Titus, I was a disillusioned former pastor, now working in the administration of a nursing home. Grateful to find employment, Sherry and I adjusted to the change in our lifestyle. The residents at the center became like a second family to me. The hours were wonderful. I was home with my family every night. Our weekends were free from church responsibilities. I began enjoying the fact that being a pastor was part of my former life. At least I thought I was enjoying it, but persistent stirrings in my heart told me I longed to return and do what I was created to do. At the prompting of my wife, I called Pastor Larry to receive his counsel. To my surprise, he offered me a job as a staff pastor at the church. I thought I needed counseling, and he wanted to hire me. I was trying hard to convince him that I was a mess, but he saw beyond my disillusionment and spoke to my heart. Larry believed in me when I was struggling to believe in myself. So there I was, on a Sunday morning of Thanksgiving week, waking up to another opportunity to encourage people to believe. Sherry's voice seemed miles away as she called me back to consciousness. Slithering from my bed, I groggily washed, dressed, blotted my teeth, and walked out the door. The bleeding from my mouth was more profuse that morning, so I took a few extra handkerchiefs along just in case. The message stirring in my heart that day was from Hebrews 11. Some call it the faith chapter. Through a haze of weariness, I shared my heart. Faith is a gift from God, I declared. With it, he enables us to believe his promises, even when we cannot see his fulfillment of them. Mopping the blood from my mouth, I continued, he strengthens us to have confidence in him when confusion is all around us. In the middle of a life-threatening storm, faith is our Father holding our lives in his firm hands and softly pleading, "Trust me." These are the words I shared in my sermon that Sunday morning in November of 1997. Little did I know how crucial their truth would be in the journey that was about to begin. I would learn how sturdy and powerful His gift of faith really is. The rest of that Sunday was a blur, most of it lost to sleep. By Monday, I felt significantly worse. Overnight, my tongue became covered with black sores, which extended throughout the inside of my mouth. Sherry took one look at me and said, "That's it. I'm calling the doctor." To her surprise, I immediately agreed. Normally, I avoid doctors as they have a tendency to either inject something into you, extract something from you, or weigh you, all of which can be traumatic. But I realized my body was weakening. I had to fight to stay alert. Within the hour, we were in an exam room ready to get to the root of what was attacking my health. A kind young physician greeted me. He listened to my story and referred me to a local hospital for a series of blood tests. Now, a few hours later, a woman's voice on the phone told me the test results were in. Her tone implied they were not good. My personal journal of hope. Romans 4:19 tells us that Abraham, without weakening in his faith, faced the fact that his body was as good as dead, since he was about 100 years old. Facing overwhelming facts is not a sign of weak faith. In fact, true faith is sincere and unfeigned. It does not pretend or ignore the facts. What are some of the overwhelming facts you are facing at this moment in your life? Romans 4:20-21 goes on to tell us Abraham did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave glory to God, being fully persuaded that God had power to do what he had promised. Without ignoring the facts, cite some of the even more overwhelming promises God has made to you.